advance that, I think you should go advance with, just making sure it's advancing the right thing. That's not, okay, so that's what I'm afraid of,
I probably here. Knowing me, I'd probably knock it over.
Yeah, I've got this. No.
Oh, I could have worn my cute little shawl like that. I'm glad you have that to show. Me too. On Sunday, we'll wear them together.
I haven't worn it yet.
I haven't worn mine yet
The
either.
weather was such that, you know,
Oh, we needed 5 of those at least.
I thought I'd just wear it today. So.
Nah, no, it isn't. It's nice.
Rocking it all the way up to 2 gold.
Pardon me?
It's rocking it all the way up to 2 gold.
Oh, there we go. Okay, but that's. I want to see.
You want to see the people?
I want to see.
That was not what I did.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of. That it was. That's coming off your.
Ooh, photos.
No, it's,
I can't find.
no, my computer is not attached.
I can't find you on here. This one? Okay. I guess it was, yeah. And you're sharing, okay, stop sharing. But I don't want to get the work here, I can't.
So,
Good morning.
Over the way, do you remember when we went to
Sandy, if you can hear
Restaurant.
and see the presentation, you can do something in the chat.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, all the, on that place, no, that, we went on there, there's a
So,
restaurant, about the one they think they did the video thing.
So we're sharing what we
So
are.
I know where it is, I mean,
Well,
I
actually,
didn't really know they were on the children's theater.
So.
Oh, yeah, it's within a good, strong baseball world children's theater.
You have to learn how to wear the.
I do too. I asked my Ethiopian granddaughter to help me, but you know, they do it so automatically that it takes a while for us Americans.
I'm gonna be so lonely.
I went down.
On purpose?
Yeah, they kind of take it and put it around the front of one side and then flip the other one over, I think. But I haven't been very good at that. I should have tried it myself.
I'm just gonna wear it like this.
Yeah. I think it's cute. Yeah, try that. That might be. Because it'll spin.
No, this, so this advanced. So it is, yeah.
I can see why the roads are so far down.
Couple different for these folks.
So,
You know what might help us? Kind of,
but they're also saying that it's.
yeah, but that's honest. It's okay. At least it's easy. You can always take it off after you show it off.
that'll be too small.
No, it'll be okay for.
You will be? You sure? All right.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Are you having a microphone?
Yeah, do we need a microphone?
Yeah.
Yeah. or can, house the volume from.
Oh.
Hello. Okay. Wow. Okay, hi, everybody.
Right.
You wanna just hold it?
Yeah. Welcome to our presentation on Tanzania. As Pastor Steve mentioned in his sermon, we're hoping that this will be a little bit of light on a very dark weekend. So today, what we wanted to do is give you a little bit of an overview of the Prince of Peace companionship, just a high-level overview for anybody that might not be familiar. I'm going to do a little bit of a whirlwind travel log, so showing you what we did each day along our trip. Then we'll have a chance to hear from Jim and Marlis a little bit about some of their experiences, and then open it up for Q&A after. So first of all, I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but the ELCA actually has a companionship program where every single synod in the ELCA is connected with at least one synod or country somewhere globally. In the St. Paul Area Synod, we have our partnership Bega Kwabega with Tanzania, with the Iringa Diocese in Tanzania, and then also we have a partnership with Guatemala. There's a couple of things that happen with this. First of all, we agree that we're going to pray for each other, that we're going to visit and communicate with each other, share stories, share our challenges, share our joys, sharing gifts, work on projects together. And just a little bit, I would say the St. Paul area since Bega Kwabega is one of the most thriving companionships. It's been going on since the late 90s, and it's very thriving. In the Iringa Diocese, there's 129 parishes, and 83 of those are partnered with Companion over here. In the St. Paul Area Synod, we have 107 congregations that have 62 companions, and then there's four churches that are not part of the St. Paul Area Synod that do have companions. Because there's an inequity between the number of parishes they have and the number of partners that we have, there's also a thriving equity program that provides things like scholarships and peakies, motorbikes to the unpartnered parishes as well, to try to get some of the equity up between congregations that are partnered or not partnered. So next is the morning geography lesson. So for those that may not be familiar, Tanzania, it's on the African continent in the middle. It's like roughly right below the equator. So you can see here in the African continent, we have Tanzania. We fly into Dar es Salaam. That's the largest city. It's on the coast. And then the Iringa Diocese is in the southern highlands, kind of central Tanzania. And then within the Iringa Diocese, our companions are Bumlangombe and Vikangwa, and that's roughly where they appear there. These are a couple of pictures that show what the Bumlangombe village looks like. It's in the highlands, so it's very, very hilly, mountainous. It's higher than the elevation of Denver, and it's a beautiful, beautiful area. Part of the Bega Kwabega, it's based on 3 pillars: prayer, presence, and projects. And relationships is what really holds it together. A lot of times when we go to visit, people will say, well, what are you going to do over there? We're going to form relationships. It's really all about the relationships, and God is at the center. Jim, do you want to talk a little bit about the affiliate partners?
Give Caryn a little bit of a break here. You'll see on the left part of this slide, this has always kind of touched me of all the times I've gone over. And I'm not sure how long this sign has been at the diocese grounds, but I know it's been there for like at least the last 10 years. And you can see it actually notes on there. They have their vision, mission, and core values stated just like we do at Prince of Peace here, with really what they are all about, their mission and ministry as a diocese, reaching out to those 129 parishes that Caryn had mentioned. Then on the right side of this slide, one of the really wonderful, impactful, meaningful things that's come out of this relationship with St. Paul Synod and the Ringa Diocese. We kind of wondered, what is that big, as people have gone over, most of the time, all these years, over 25 years now, many of the travelers that went from St. Paul, churches that may have been just going over to visit a companion congregation of their own for the first time, or maybe the second, they were witnesses to certain needs over there, or they just something touched at their heart and really spoke to them. So that's where all of these affiliate partners just kind of grew organically over the years. All these organizations back over here that have partnerships over in the Oringa Diocese. You'll see over there, Dignity for Daughters. That's actually one that's been around for just a few years now. It started maybe about 5 years ago. Their mission ministry has to do with education of girls for menstrual care or sex education for both the girls and the boys over there in the diocese schools and in the villages, primarily the schools. You'll see St. Paul Partners. That's a water ministry. There's a group over from the University of Minnesota right now, every January, that travels over there. That is a ministry looking for water solutions for safe drinking water. That's the oldest affiliate that's been around for years. Shoulder to Shoulder is an emphasis ministry on healthcare at Alula Hospital, which started out as a district hospital in the Oringa area and is now more of a fully government-sponsored hospital. And it's just amazing the changes because of the partnership of people that saw a need over here and things that have happened over there and it's a diocese-run hospital. Radio Faraha is a radio ministry right in Oringa town and reaches out to a good share of the country there in the southern highlands of Tanzania. Millions of trees, some of you might remember that. That's reforestation out in the rural areas of the Oringa Diocese for to replenish the fast-growing pine trees that they use for lumber. Oringa Hope, some of you have heard that has to do with small loans to a lot of the farmers, agricultural community that depend on microloans and for their crop staples, primarily. Friends of Aruma is a ministry of the diocese for the orphanage that they have at Aruma Center. Day of Grace is another very important one dealing with actually, that was kind of one started by Tom Hansen, Pastor Tom Hansen. Him and his wife Beth used to be members here. But when he was still a pastor, he saw the need over there that of a couple days to bring pastors and diocese staff in for wellness checks. And so that's an important ministry. And then Friends of Oringa is the last one there. So it's been really something to see all these affiliates that have grown out of the partnerships.
Thanks, Jim, for saving my voice. So the Prince of Peace partnership started back in 2000, 2001, when Don and Eunice Fultz, who were the first organizers of this, came and did an adult forum. And Jareen Mortensen, one of our members who had been a missionary over in Tanzania, said, what's needed to get started? They said $1,000. She said, here. And that's when we got partnered up with Bomolongombe. The first visit to Bomolongombe was by Bill and Jean Kanak and Lee and Sandy Poppy. They went in 2002, and that's when we officially signed the covenant with Bomolongombe. One of the things that's interesting about the churches over there is because everything is so geographically dispersed and transportation is a challenge, there's typically one main, what they call the main station, which is the main church that's served by a pastor. And then they have remote, what they call preaching points that are served by lay evangelists. And then the pastor will do a rotating visit to the different preaching points. And so in 2019, when we went over, you can see this was Bomolongombe, and then these were all the preaching points at that point. On our 2019 visit, we discovered that one of the preaching points, Vikangwa, had grown to a size where they were interested in forming their own congregation. So in 2020, Vikangwa formed its own congregation, and then at that time, Prince of Peace had the decision to make. What do we do with Vikangwa? Do we wish them well and say, nice knowing you? Or do we agree to partner with them as well? And we said, these are our friends. We can't just let them go. So in 2020, we partnered with them. And then in our 2023 visit, we formed the covenant. We signed the covenant with Vikangwa. A couple of the preaching points went from Bomolongombe to Vikangwa. And then Vikangwa has a couple more preaching points that spun off. So it's really a thriving, growing community. So one of the three pillars is presence. And Prince of Peace does that in a couple of ways. One is by frequent emails. We do try to have Zoom calls on years where we don't visit, and we visit. We've been trying to go roughly every 2 years. There was a gap during the pandemic, but roughly we try to go and visit every couple of years. And so we've had a number of people who have made that visit. This year, it was me and Jim, Rick, John, and Marlis who went along. And this is the itinerary, but I'm going to jump into that. So it's a jam-packed trip. You are going to get a really quick jam-packed view of what our trip was like. So first of all, traveling to Tanzania, we had a wonderful sending off ceremony here at Prince of Peace, and then we gathered at Prince of Peace to carpool down to the airport. It's a long trip. It takes 2 days to get to Tanzania. It's like a roughly 8 to 9 flight to Amsterdam, a 4-hour layover, and then another 8 to 9 hour flight from Amsterdam to Dar es Salaam, stopping at Mount Kilimanjaro Airport on the way down. We were met at the airport by Makuta Travel, which provided us wonderful transportation service while we were there. And then this time we did something different. Typically, what most groups do if there's a small number of people, they'll fly to Iringa on a tiny prop jet, or they will take a long drive. Now, when we first started going, the drive was about 8 to 10 hours through beautiful scenery. It's now gotten to be, the groups are now seeing like 13 to 14 hours. And so there's a new option that we experimented with, high-speed train. So we decided we took the high-speed train from Dar es Salaam to a city called Dodoma, which is the capital. And then in Dodoma, we got a transportation, and it was another 4 hours to Iringa for there. But it was definitely faster than it would have been. And then on the way, you can see us having lunch there. At a nice place along the way, they had box lunches for us. After we got to Iringa and had a wonderful dinner and a chance to rest, the next day we spent in Iringa. And the first thing that most groups try to do is go visit the diocese. So Jim mentioned a couple of things. We have get a chance to meet some of the diocese leaders. They do the millions of trees planting there. So we got a chance to see that. We got a chance to go and tour the radio station. They were having a sports broadcast when we were there. And then we had done an ice cream social before we left to raise some funds to buy gifts. There's a Christian bookstore run by a Danish nonprofit. And so we placed an order ahead of time on books for Sunday school and adult education. And so we made a trip to the bookstore, and there we're going through the order and making sure we have everything we needed. And then we capped it all off with a lovely dinner at the Sunset Hotel, which is very aptly named. Then the next is the parish visits. I wanted to tell a little bit about what happens on a parish visits. There's generally a welcome. We share meals together. We stay in the village. So we're staying with the pastor and the pastor's family. We visit the preaching points. We worship together. We share gifts. There's a partnership meeting where we talk about our mutual joys and challenges. And then we get a chance to see a little bit about what's going on with some of the projects and some of the daily life. That's one of our meals. The meals are buffet. They feed us very well. So we're going to start with Bomolongombe. So Friday through Monday, we were in Bomolongombe where we started first. On Friday, when we got there was a massive greeting. They met us probably a mile up the road, singing and dancing, and there were motorbikes with flowers, branches waving, kind of like Palm Sunday. We did dance, they had dancing outside the pastor's house. And then we had a ceremony where we got together in the church and there was singing and dancing. And then they gifted Marlis and I with dresses, and they gifted Rick and John and Jim with shirts. It's always amazing how closely they fit.
Mine gets a little too close.
Yeah. It was all that good food you ate over there. And then in the afternoon, we visited two of the preaching points. So Mwanzala is the one that's closest. And then Mangalali is the newest Bomlongombe preaching point, and they're in the process of building a new church. So this is the new church that we had a chance to see. That was Friday. Saturday, we did two more preaching points, Nyamatanga, Alole. We met with the group from Bomlongombe that is involved in Aringa Hope. We toured one of their projects, which is the business center. We heard about their new church, and we got a chance to see their water source. So in the upper corner, Nyamatanga is the most remote preaching point for Bomlongombe. Very, very mountain hill, is beautiful. Alole has wonderful children's choir. It's always fun to see them. We also bought soccer balls for each of the preaching points, so you can kind of see in there, we threw the soccer ball to the kids and they were having fun bouncing it around. The Aringa Hope group gathered out, and then the area down, let's see if I can, the area down here, this is where they're going to be building the new church. They've now started digging for the foundation. It's probably going to be over 10 years before the new church gets built, but they're starting and going small. And then they have been steadily building a new business center that we've been helping fund. So they started out with 4 shops and a cafe, and they've now have another 6 that they have been working on. And it's things like a feed store, a barber shop, a beauty salon, a little microfinance office, a fabric store. They're going to have another small little cafe for selling things like samosas and chapati and such, and then a storage space for cement, I believe it is. And then in the afternoon, water has been a real challenge, and there's a new water source and a new water pump for the village. And so we actually had a chance to go down and see the water source and see the equipment and see what they were doing. Sunday, worship. So worship, we met with the widows group. We met with the Bomlongombe preaching point, and then we had our partnership meeting. So those
Starting at 6 a.m.
starting at 6 a.m. Also, when we got there on Friday, the interpreter said, "So, is somebody going to preach?" And I didn't feel right to spring that one on John, so I was like, "Okay." He goes, "Yes, you should preach." Like, okay, so I ended up preaching on Sunday. So part of that whole trip was like, okay, here's the verse here. So that made it more interesting. But as before we left, we had the ice cream social, and we had cards to sign for the leaders and for the students. And in the upper corner is Pastor Tuwele holding up the sign, or holding up the card that people had signed for that and expressing gratitude. There was also, they had a young man, they had an adult who was a keyboardist, but they also had this young man who was a keyboardist that just did a fabulous job. John went over and complimented him on his keyboard prowess. And then there were a lot of singers and dancers during the service. In the afternoon, we visited students, so we got a chance to meet some of the students or their parents to give out the packets of information we had gotten for them. We also got a demonstration on how they make baskets. We had a meeting with the widows. So we had a widows project where it started out with pigs. There was a pig disease, the pigs all died. So then they shifted to goats. So we had a chance to see a lot of goats. That's going well. And then they're also making baskets and hat baskets for sale. And so we got a demonstration on how they're making baskets. And then finally, we have the partnership meeting. And the partnership meeting is a great chance for for them to share what their projects are, what's going well, what some of their challenges are. We share what some of our projects and our challenges are. They pray for us, we pray for them, and it's just a really delightful way to understand what's going on. And generally those meetings at the end with devotions and singing. And it's wonderful for Park Harmony. Monday morning, we had to say goodbye. We did some gifting, so we had brought along some notebooks and some scarves and pins that we let people that we gave out, and then everybody waving goodbye. We also did get a chance to see the kitchen in the new pastor's house and see some of the cooks who gave us such wonderful hospitality. And then after we got back to Oringa, we had a lovely dinner at the Sai Villa. So after Bomolongombe, the next step was to visit Ruaha National Park, because you cannot go that far and not go see the animals. And the national park, there's a number of them throughout Tanzania. The one that we always go to is Ruaha National Park. It's not as heavily visited as some of the northern parks like the Serengeti or the Ngorongoro Crater. And so these are just a tiny sampling of some of the pictures. Baldwin, our guide, you can see us in our safari vehicle. They're open safari vehicles, so you get to get up close and personal to the animals. We've got elephants, we've got giraffe. They usually have a great sunset picture. We got some Cape buffalo there. And then the cool thing was we got a chance to see a couple of different leopards. And so we had a little kitty cat up in the tree there. So it's it's kind of one of those where you have to go there. It's wonderful to see God's good creation, and it's a delightful time. Thursday, we came back, and Thursday afternoon was our visit to Huruma Center. The first thing we did was we actually stopped in the market and we bought 100 kilograms of rice, because that's always a need. Once again, that was the funds we raised from the ice cream social that helped provide some additional food for the children. One of the things that Huruma Center has done is they're now having a lot of children that are coming from abuse or trafficking situations. And so for the safety of the children, one of the things that they've started to do, one of the things that they have started is a school on the school grounds. So they're starting with a primary school, and it will eventually be a secondary school as well. But they're using the primary school now, so we got a chance to see the primary school down there and some of the classrooms. They're nice, bright, colorful, with fun pictures on the wall. We got a chance to hear the kids sing, and then the picture down in the corner there is them dragging those 100 kilograms of rice into their storage room. Then Friday, after that whirlwind, now it's back to Vikangwa. So now it's time for the next village visit.
And we go out the same way.
And we go out the same way. So Vikangwa is actually just on the outskirts of Bomolongombe. It's near a town called Liamco, but it's essentially the same community. So we wave at Bomolongombe Church on our way through town. You also see in the picture here, that's the type of vehicle that we were riding in. So it's a nice 4-wheel drive vehicle for doing the hills, which is really, really helpful. So Vikangwa. Friday, once again, we had the greeting. You can see up in the upper corner, we were greeted by a couple of people on the piki-pikis with flowers, waving branches. We had a wonderful welcome outside the church. We had welcome inside the church, where we got a chance to meet some of the church leaders. And one of the things that Vikangwa did last year that we helped pay for is there was a house that became available that they thought would make a good guest house. And so we helped them put a down payment on that house. And that house was actually where we had all of our meals, our meetings. And then Marlis and Rick and John stayed there, and Jim and I stayed up at the pastor's house with our interpreter. But it's a beautiful house, lovely facility. And I think they're hoping that they'll eventually be able to use that as an income source as well. And then you can see some of our cooks out in the kitchen there. And then we visited the Mlandegi preaching point. So you see the wood slats in the upper right corner. That's the Mlandegi preaching point. And then the other kind of surprising thing was we went to visit the Liamco government office. It turns out that one of the former evangelists at at Vicangua is now the mayor. And so we got a chance to go to the government office, we got a chance to meet the government leaders, and they showed us a dispensary outside. The other thing that was kind of fascinating, I don't have a good picture of it, but elections were coming up, and so their voting register was little pictures of all the voters on the outside of the building.
Oh.
So that was kind of interesting. So we got a chance to meet the government leaders, and then they came to church on Sunday and gave us knives. Knives. So Saturday, once again, I said this is whirlwind. So Saturday we visited two secondary schools, so Bomolongombe Secondary School, and we got a chance to meet Vikangua's students that we're sponsoring. We gave soccer balls and then a netball, which is kind of like a volleyball. Sounds like the girls prefer netball to soccer, so we got a netball for the schools. And then Mifugo Preaching Point is a small preaching point, and right next to Mifugo is Ipeta, which is a government school. And the evangelist for Mifugo is one of the teachers at the government school. And then in the afternoon, we made the fun trip up to one of the newest and the most remote preaching point, Muhu. And boy, those roads were interesting. Curvy up and down and switchbacks, and this skinny at some point. But we made it up there, and we were met with joyous singing and dancing, and the picture down on the bottom row, the second from the left, is the Muhu preaching point. So it's a temporary structure. They're hoping to build a more permanent one. And then just some daily life. I had a picture of some of the goats. We saw more widow's goats. The pastor's actually raising turkeys. And so he was showing us how he's raising the turkey chicks and feeding them and keeping them warm at night. And then in the evening, we actually had a chance to see some of their plans for the church that they hope to build at some point. They've got a lot of great plans. Sunday, of course, is worship. And so we had a wonderful worship. We gave out at worship, that's when we gave out the metal cross that we had created for them before we left. Singing, dancing. It was wonderful. We gave out soccer balls, so had a chance to watch some of the kids playing with the soccer balls. At the end, there was some pickup soccer ball games, and then in the upper corner, those are actually the pastor's twin daughters. They're now three. Absolutely. And so they were tossing the soccer ball around, and then finally the final is the partnership meeting. And once again, we met in the new guest house, and all of the leaders and the cooks were there. One of the things that's really wonderful, and this is a little bit of a, John, I didn't tell you this yet, a little bit of a preview, but it often featured devotions, praying, and then singing. And there was one song that they sang a lot that we loved, and was like, what is that? It's like, and we found out what it is. And so the choir's gonna do that on February 8th. So February 8th. So there's a song that we sang there that the choir's gonna be doing. So just a sneak preview. John was instrumental in that. So that was Sunday. And then Monday we said goodbye, but we had one other stop on Monday on the way back to Aringa. So in 2004, which was the first time Jim and I went, Saturday night, we're sitting at the pastor's house, and they came to our group and said, there's a pastor here. He and his wife have a baby that's being baptized tomorrow, and we're wondering if one of you would be interested in being sponsors. And Jim and I looked at each other and went, sure. So that Sunday morning, we became sponsors for Trifina Kinganga. And we try to make it a point to try to see her family each time we go. Her father is now retired as a pastor, and so it's right on the way back to Aringa. So we had a chance to see his new house, which is gorgeous. They greeted us with fun wraps. You can see them all there, and we had a lovely lunch on our way back to Aringa. Trifina is now in her early 20s, and she's a student in accounting at the University of Dar es Salaam. So just
Accounting.
yeah, it's her last year. So just a delightful young lady. That was Monday, and then now we're reaching towards the end of the trip. So for the trip finale, Tuesday there's a museum in Aringa that has it's actually there's a Stone Age site nearby, and so there's actually a lot of archaeology in that area. So we went to the museum and we saw some of the artifacts. We had a chance to explore that. We said goodbye to John because John left from there to go visit the Holy Land. And then the fun part was trying to get all of the baskets of gifts we got into suitcases. We made it. After that, the next time is Marlis and Jim and Rick and I went to Zanzibar Island as a kind of a special treat at the end. So the first day we went to Jozani Park, which features there's red monkeys that are a highlight. We also went to a butterfly farm and a walk through a mangrove forest. And then the next day, this was a hoot. We went to a spice farm and had a cooking class. And I was thinking, kind of home ec, stainless steel room. No, this was floor. This was the cooking over stones. So we helped prep and then did a tour of the spice farm. And then afterwards, we had a chance to eat the fruits of our labors. That's actually a nutmeg in the upper corner there. I never knew what a nutmeg was. That's what the nutmeg looks like. And then on the way back, we took a small tour of Stone Town. So that's a whirlwind trip. So now you've all been to Tanzania. And now to share a couple of traveler stories, I'm going to call Jim up next. That's Jim with the twins.
I just wanted to share just a couple things on kind of highlights for me as I remember a couple instances where we travel over that far, 8,000 miles. I mean, just think of that and how we can do that nowadays and get over somewhere 8,000 miles away takes a day, as Caryn mentioned, but being blessed to having the lucky chance to go over that many times now and to see the changes, just amazing. And they kind of hit your mind, they hit your heart, the changes. And I just wanted to share a couple things that these slides give a little glimpse of. And Caryn had mentioned about when we have the partnership meetings with our companions, Bomangombe Parish and Bakanga Parish. Both of them have these hopes and dreams of building new places where they can worship, meet, gather as a community to worship God and to be sent out. And you can see that middle photo up there. It's kind of hard to see their faces, but all those stones they're sitting on, those are stones they're gathering for those future hopes and dreams, for the foundation of a new structure at Bakangwa. And the one right below it, those stones are another gathering spot on another side of the compound behind their current structure where their current building is. So that's kind of the back of their church right now. So that's another spot. So they're gathering all these stones for a future new worship space for them. Then Caryn mentioned also how Bomangombe, again, the same type of thing at the bigger Bomangombe parish about their hopes and dreams of this probably will be about a 10-year building project. And they use the diocese to help them with all of the plans, all the drawings, all the renderings. And it was really neat for them to share that. The other thing, the second big change is as we were going out both weekends, the first weekend to Bomangombe and the second weekend to Bakangwa, I was blown away by all the highway construction. We had never, in all the trips that Caryn and I have gone over, we had never actually seen highway construction going on. And here you can see in that photo on the far right, I love this photo as I took it looking down. And you can see the road, the grading of the road, and in the very far corner, kind of that upper left corner, it's kind of just an unbelievable aerial shot. As you're driving through the area and you pass that thing, that's like a big depot, corral, whatever, of highway, the big highway equipment. Like the same types of things we see with building our roads and that. And just to see these incremental changes and how now the country is investing in this very, very poor, more rural part of the country.
Can you say something about the water delivery system?
Yes. So that was what I was gonna, with all the changes that we've seen over the years of going over to visit our companions. But then it seemed like we would see over the years, I mentioned about St. Paul Partners and the water project, the water mission and ministry of people over there here, people over there, trying to find water solutions. And we know, I know, I take clean water. Every single day I take clean water for granted. But what we've seen now in the last couple of trips, it's like we saw the improvements, but when we've seen how things have kind of gone the other way in Bomo and Gombe, the challenges. And so here's where this is everyday life for many of them right now. Because of the huge growth of the area and the demand, water challenges, and then with the road construction and all, they have to use the motorbikes to haul up. He has 5 that he actually has 5 of these 20-liter plastic jugs strapped to that. I saw one one motorbike, one guy had like 9 of those strapped on. And so this 5 here would be probably enough to meet the water needs of Pastor M. DeGala and his wife and his 2 little twin daughters. They need about 5 of those jugs just for their one daily need. So kind of put that into perspective.
Did Rick volunteer to drive one of those things?
Well, funny you should ask. Thanks, Jim. Next, Marlis. And Marlis is modeling one of the new hats that the widows are making.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's nice.
I've got.
Oh, yeah, the loose ones are on the back table. If you want to see Marlis's pictures, they're on the back table. She took some great ones.
There's some of them. I didn't give them all. Good morning.
Morning.
This, I wrote a long story, so you won't have to hear all of it. But I just want to say a couple of things in that, our long-awaited trip was well worth the wait. Anticipation is a large part of any adventure, but in this case, it definitely didn't outweigh all that was experienced in Tanzania. The journey was kind of like a Home Alone story where you had different legs of the trip. You know, you flew here, you took a train there, you took a car here, and eventually you got where you're going. But I learned that I needed to be more vigilant and be sure not to get off of our plane at the wrong airport. The 5 of us were scattered throughout the plane, so I didn't notice that none of the others got off. So while waiting in line inside the airport, I thought I heard my name being called. I mentioned to a staff person, and they took me to a cubicle. Soon the woman appeared with a large sign, and all that was on the sign was my name. She said my friends were concerned because they didn't see me on the plane. So she helped me carry my bags back to the plane, and there at the top of the stairs was Caryn, and everything was fine. So, the good thing I was with the church group, or I might still be there. So then we continued on our way to Dar es Salaam.
Having messed up early in our adventure, I wanted to be sure to pay attention to all details and not cause any further problems. Didn't have to wait long. When we were leaving our hotel in Dar es Salaam to continue on to Iringa, I had to return to my room to get something I had forgotten. So when we were checking in Iringa, I discovered that I had failed to return my key to the hotel in Dar es Salaam. The person of the BKB said she would return the key to the people and everything would be fine. So thank you, Lord, and thank you, person. I was very impressed with the size of Iringa. I don't know the population, but it covers a huge valley about as far as you can see. It was urban sprawl, just all you could see as far as you could within the valley. It was just houses, and businesses. So it was very impressive. Lots of floral trees, bushes, gardens. Am I talking?
Yeah, keep playing.
Not talking?
No, there.
Oh, it's a metropolitan city with heavy motor traffic and pedestrians everywhere. They have small three-wheel enclosed motorcycles that zip in and out of the traffic among the cars and semis. They use them like taxis. I think they would be good to have here as a little errand vehicle. And there are lots of open motorcycles that have 3 people. They use those like taxis also. So we were given a suggested packing list, and I didn't want to not pack something I would need. So I packed pretty much everything that was on the list. Bad idea. I had 2 heavy bags. My fellow travelers were very kind and helped me carry these bags through the airports. I also learned too late not to buy a new purse that has a lot of pockets, because you don't know where anything is. And I couldn't find anything. So, the roads there, as I mentioned earlier, in the mountains where we were, was terrible. Narrow, growth right up to the roads, windy, deep ruts. Maybe a plow was never there, they were just awful. And so riding down these roads, they have turned, they called it, the Tanzania massage. You fall in a hole on this side and then you fall in a hole on that side. So some of these things we covered earlier, so I'm not gonna. Okay. One example of the willingness to accommodate occurred while I shopped at a very large Maasai market. I had seen a cute small rug at the godparents' or the goddaughter's house. And I asked one of the vendors there if they had any of those rugs. And he said yes, and he left to go and get it, and he came back and said, "We don't have any, but we'll make one for you and it'll be ready in a half an hour." And I said, "Well, we're going across the street for lunch," and he said, "We'll deliver." So I've gotten some other things, and we were having lunch, and I showed them to Jim, and he said, "Oh, they like some of those." So when they came to deliver the rug, Jim said he would like some of those, and they said, "Well, we'll deliver them, we'll bring them back." So they want to accommodate you in any way, and there's no hassle about anything. They, and so the words that they use are Hakuna Matata, which many people have heard. And that means no worries, or it doesn't matter. We've heard that often, over and over and over. A couple other words they use are Asante Sana, which means thank you very much. And they say that. Sorry. They say that, and we learn to say it as well. You just feel it and you have to say it. Oh, so then I was attracted to a pair of shoes a man was wearing. And I took photos, he let me take pictures of them, and he told me where he got them, and 2 days later, he appeared with 2 pair of these shoes for my consideration. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, they were too big. But I came home and found them online, and now I have some shoes. We also toured the orphanage that is sponsored by this partnership, and 2 of the young girls there each took my hands, and we walked from the building we were in to the playground. And it was very meaningful to me because both of our children are adopted, so. It's nice to see, and they were all happy kids running around and interacting with each other. It was just a wonderful thing to see. Oh, I have a prayer partner now from the widows group, the ones that have pigs and goats and make it cow. And so I've been praying for them, and I sent something over for Christmas to a person who was leaving here to go back to Tanzania, and just that she would see that the lady cow. And oh, they talked about the million trees. We saw how they grew from a little tiny tree to large enough to put in the ground. It's grown from the million tree to millions of trees, just no limit. God is truly at work in Tanzania through the Bega partnership. We Americans can learn much from our partners in Tanzania. We have so much and they have so little. Imagine daily living without running water or heat in cold weather. Majority are hardworking farmers living in less than desirable conditions. Nothing changes their positive, generous attitude. All of the church services we attended were overflowing with participants. Some of the preaching points had more than 1,000 participants. So at the camp, the animals that we saw, one of the groups were about 600 or 700 8 buffaloes.
Wow.
And that's a huge number of these very, very large animals. And it's just impressive to see them right there. Our side trip to Zanzibar was like visiting a modern tourist city. Here we had all of the things that we were missing in Karinga. One notable feature for me was that there were cats everywhere. There would be 4 or 5 on a doorstep, another half a dozen walking down the street here, another half a dozen, they're all over. And one of the fellows said that he feeds and vaccinates 47 cats.
Wow.
We walked by this area every day on our way from the room to the hotel. So we got to see a lot of kitties. I didn't touch any though, because they probably want to bring them home. So memories of this adventure will remain with me forever. I visited other third world countries, but to live among the natives is completely different than returning to your hotel or ship at the end of the day and enjoying your familiar pampering. My souvenir is a necklace with a pendant, the shape of Africa, and a Tanzanite stone place where Tanzania is located. I'm thankful for having had this opportunity to experience commitment to God's work and willing cooperation of all parties are thousands of miles apart. I got to meet the lady who made this.
Hmm.
And it's just a lovely wrap. They were wraps all over. They were 1 or 2 around the bottom and 1 or 2 around here. They don't match in color or anything, but they're just beautiful. They know how to, how to do it. So it's just like and
Can you tell us what the hyenas?
the hyenas. Yes, the hyenas are working on the carcass of a giraffe. We saw remnants of other animals that every day we go by this certain giraffe and see that there was less and less of him there. And we came upon a place where they were working over a water, one of those Cape buffaloes. So we got to see firsthand life on the land.
John Marlis and Rick were our lucky cohorts to have with us because we had never seen. Of all the several, Caryn and I have been to this park 10 times in our life. We had never seen a scene quite like this. It was very, very.
You hadn't seen many leopards too, you said.
No,
We got to see 2 leopards. And the lady in the corner picture is the one who made.
Thanks, Marlis. Look, we're getting pretty close to the end, so just wanted to picture John. Quick story. At the end of the service, a lot of people will give cash as offerings, but some people will give goods. And so they have an auction of the goods afterwards. Rick bought some potatoes and then John said, well, I can't let Rick show me up, so then he bought some eggs for the auction. And then we had mentioned Rick, so can't see that very well. That's Rick on the back. Rick did get his motorcycle ride. So once again, it was a wonderful trip. Every trip we go is a little bit different. But the hospitality and the changes that we see and just the love for God is an overwhelming experience. And so we also really appreciate boy, Rick and John and Marlis, you guys were troopers because it was jam-packed and it was really a joy having all three of you come along with us to come and see as our theme goes. So great, I think probably quite close to there. So you can catch me after the service if there's any questions, but thank you everybody for your support. Thanks for your attention and helping us share a little bit of what this partnership is all about.
Great.